Welcome back to the second part of Love Viv. You know, from the beginning, Viv, I could always tell that you were a true empath, right? You
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
cared so much about the people that that were working for you, for your employees, for everyone around you. And I mean, you could really tell that you cared. You actually gave
Yeah.
a shit
Mm-hmm.
100%, and that um, everybody was welcome.
Mm-hmm.
You gave the best hugs, and you always made
Yeah.
people laugh, and you always, every interaction, you made people feel good about being them. And just as a company, I mean, I think back on my 45 years of working. I'd never felt that before.
Yeah.
And, you know, I, like I said before, I feel fortunate. You know what? I worked for a once in a lifetime company.
Mm-hmm.
It made me a better person. I have
Yeah.
the best friendships from that company. Um, it just made me a better human.
But I
So,
think it did that. I think it ultimate did that for everyone that walked in that door, though,
Yeah.
Gretchen. I think the biggest thing compliment I ever got was people walking in the door orientation says, if you're not bid from day one, I feel like everyone was here to help me.
Yeah.
Like everyone was good here to help me succeed. And every company I worked for, everybody, no one wanted to help me because they were all in fear of their role, of their job. Like, I'm not going to give you all this information because you might replace me one day. Like, ultimate, like, I remember the UPS guy coming in and FedEx people and says, everyone's so happy here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not rocket science. And it's so hard to convince organizations to actually get it, where if you really take care of your people who are taking care of you and you make sure they're happy and you run by exception and not the rule of like, and I told that to everybody, I told my entire team, we run by exception. So if someone needs something and that's not the policy that we did,
Mm-hmm.
we are okay to break that policy. But everybody's individual, everybody has their story. And if we go above and beyond, I remember so much, and I remember Bob Manny telling me, Viv, you're setting out a president. I don't give a fuck if I'm setting a president. This is an individual who has expired their 12 weeks of leave, who we've paid for, who still is either A, dying, or they're in a situation that it's like, that's where the human side comes in, right? Like, let your humanity, let your heart take care of your people versus your financials. I mean,
Right.
you do that, and like I can tell you so many exceptions we did, but you know what? That itself is your brand. That
Mm-hmm.
word gets out, and you don't have to say it. I mean, at the leadership, we don't have to say a word. Let the people talk who have been affected so many times, so many individuals that they were the exception. You know, I'm gonna get crying.
sorry. Way to go, Dirty Skittles. Way to go.
Look, I am innocent.
I do it to myself. I do it to myself because I know all the stories. I know the heartbreak and I know the camaraderie. Like I remember,
Mm-hmm.
like after somebody lost someone or someone in a hardship, the biggest compliment I would always get was like right away, a peep would send me an email or
Yeah.
call me and says, Viv, can we do something to help? And when I said, you all are empowered. It can't be just ultimate at top. You are all empowered and should feel responsible that we all got to come together to help each other through good times, through the bad
Yeah.
times, but we all got to come together and help each other. Till this day, that still happens.
It really, really, really does. And it's so interesting to hear you speak about this now because I can't, like, if somebody was to sit me down and say, like, can you tell us exactly how they did it, how they made this
Yeah.
family? Because we all are, like, that's the only way I can describe it is that Ultimate was a family of, like, somehow
Yeah.
the same people that were uniquely different, right? And I don't know how you guys did it other than you had action, right? Like, your action mirrored your words and
Yeah.
it was felt. And still to this day, we will recognize each other. We're like, you're an Ulti peep. Without even maybe having worked with them before, that feeling is still there. Like we all still kind of hold on to it. So,
But you know what?
Yeah.
Biggest thing
That's
I've
all you
gone
guys.
probably in the last year, I've gone through 3 funerals of peeps who have passed. And it just touches my heart. Every time I see peeps from everywhere, where there's more peeps than family. I mean, there's a lot of family there, but that majority of that room is peeps. Peeps who have gone, peeps who have retired.
Yeah.
Everybody just comes together. And that bond, it's just so hard because I get asked millions of times, like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, you know what? I don't, it's not like I sought out to intentionally create this.
Right.
It wasn't intentional, like, the more benefits because we'll get on the rating. Like, we didn't apply for a rating until 12 years later after Alti was done, that we then will apply to Best Places to Work because Linda Miller, VP of Marketing, thought it would be good for the business. But even when we applied for the Best Places to Work, that SHRM thing, by the way, we were small. We had been in business 12 years, but we just let the employees. I actually remember it was a book, and it was in their voices. It was employees just telling stories, and that's what we submitted, obviously, and we had data and stuff to put in, and we ranked number 12 the first time we ever submitted. I said, "Oh my God, this was easy. We didn't do it. I didn't do anything. It was just because the that was something that we did from the first day. That's just." Who Scott and I believe, thank God, our values matched, and we just treated people like humans, like,
Right.
and we always made them, no matter when we didn't have any. It was never about financials. It was never about not having enough. It was always about what's the right thing to do,
Right.
who needs our help, who needs an exception. And if, again, look, I terminated a lot of people, but I terminated a lot of people who gave me hugs and cried, knowing that they know they just couldn't do that role.
Yeah.
But we did it the right way, right? I put him on a progressive. We talked to him. I had him in my office. It's like, look, this is what you guys just need to perform. Like, but sometimes we hired wrong. We hired people that couldn't do their jobs, that it wasn't their fault. We put them in a role they could not succeed. But we also gave them an opportunity to find something else. Or do you have skill sets that maybe could be good in another position? Who I've had that a lot, who thrived in another role because we put them in a different position. But again, it all goes back to that human value of caring for people. And
Yeah.
even I used to have conversations, look, you're in a PIP. I was like, I'm just telling you, it's not going to work out. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't do it. And they understood, and it was fine. But I still gave them severance. I still kept their healthcare to the end. Like, there's that human factor that these are people.
Right.
These are the same thing. When I heard an ADP cuts your healthcare the day you leave, and you don't get any severance, I'm like, that's insane, because I have appointments for my kids scheduled in 2 weeks. I don't have healthcare now, and I don't have a paycheck. Like, where's the humanity in
Right.
businesses? And
Right.
that's what I thought, that I didn't want Alti to be like that. So I made Alti to be like nothing else, where we're just more of the humankind. And there's so much research when you do that, and that's where your loyalty, dedication, everyone has. How do you get them all so loyal? There were people that I walked around on New Year's Eve, on Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, and support was on calls. You know this very well. And I mean, they wouldn't hang up, not because they had to, but because they wanted to.
Right.
They wanted to help that customer, because they were working for Alti, and Alti was in their hearts. And I said, go home. Like, no, I will after this last. That is priceless. And it was because they wanted to. People check on emails. I would send emails on weekends because that was my time that I had to think, but I never expected responses. And I have all these people responding, like, what are you doing responding? Like, Viv, why wouldn't I? But because they wanted to. No one would ever say, well, I sent you an email on Monday, on Friday at 3, I didn't get an email to Monday. Like, because that's what Ultimate did to people. It made them, they gave them a purpose, and they felt truly a community and a family. That everything and I made it very clear, and you girls know at New Hire, it was like, we all got to work very, very hard, because the more benefits and this home that we created, now it's all our responsibility to keep it going. So your dedication and your work, and you're going above and beyond to every customer, and the customers loved all the peeps. Like, you all have the responsibility. It isn't just us senior leadership. All of us have a responsibility to take care of the family. And that just embedded our responsibility by each individual. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. Everyone says, Viv, write a book. I said, I don't even know where to start or what to say, because it's hard to put into words or in writing, other than it's just magical. And it wasn't just leadership. It was every individual we brought in. By the way, we brought in people right away that got called out by peeps if they weren't a right fit. And they were out. If you weren't right fit and we made a mistake, someone made a mistake hiring you, you were out.
Yeah.
You were out graciously, but you were out.
Because
If
I
you're not
have
going to
protected
protect the
each
house,
other.
you're a
Yeah.
house.
We're protecting
out.
the
That-
house.
And I have to say, it's funny you say protect the house, because after, which I know we'll get to, but after everything played out the way it did, those words haunted me for days, where I was like, she was telling us we gotta protect this fucking house.
But they
And
still do. They still do.
They do 100%. My team
Still
that I
protect
have
the house,
now,
what that house means.
exactly. And the house wasn't, I think it transformed, because at first when you're in Alti, you saw Ultimate as the house. Then when
Yeah.
Ultimate was no longer there, we were the house. Like our family was the house. So
Yeah.
I have to
That's the
say
same thing.
that there are people that have left Ultimate and moved on to other companies and now practice the same values
Yeah.
that you instilled
Yeah.
in all of us.
Yeah.
life changing.
That's the biggest compliment.
Life changing.
Mhm.
I will tell you, there are leaders out there today that took your words seriously
Oh yeah.
and made their companies special because of you.
Yeah.
Because
Thank
they
you.
believed everything that you taught us and ingrained in us. And I recently read a post where they called you the ultimate mother because you were like a mom to all of us at some point, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. You know, you took us under your wings and made us the people we are today.
Yeah.
You know, I started way back in 2008, and you know, I recently retired and moved on to another company. But I took on everything that I learned from you guys, everyone, and I instilled that in my day-to-day life. And I'm fortunate to work for a company now that has those same values. It's like a very tiny mini Ultimate Software. But when I was looking after retirement, I was looking for a place that was more about culture than it was about money.
Yeah.
And I found that, and I'm so forever grateful for you.
That makes me happy.
You have no idea how grateful I am to you and to Ultimate and to all my friends. I have friends that are lifelong friends now. I mean, Dirty Skittles and I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it wasn't for you. I mean, this is our kind of our way of giving back.
Yeah.
But the same thing, like for me, the only friends I have in my life are peeps. My best friend came out of Alti was Cecile. My sister, I never had, Debbie, is a sister to me. The amount of friendships, of bonds and relations I have, those who have gone, who are still there, it's like my happiness, remember, you get me cry again. From a little girl who didn't feel loved to create a place where I'm so overly loved. Put yourself in my place, how overwhelming that my heart was. So how could I not give back to these people who loved Ultimate, who loved Scott, who loved the leadership, like that love there. But I know it's like the same thing. I was put on this earth, and I think Scott and I were brought together on this earth to create Ultimate. I can't even imagine what it would have been if Scott would not have brought me in. We talked about it several times, like it would have been a mess. But the fact, again, I'm a big believer of karma and the energies of the universe. I'm not a religious person. I'm very spiritual, but at the fact that I was laid off, and the date I'm laid off, I have lunch with a man who lets me create Ultimate the way I wanted to. Because Scott could have been a fucking CEO who there's a lot of HR professionals out there who the CEO don't let them do anything. I've talked to many customers who I've presented to, and they say, I want to do, he goes like, Viv, you just convinced me that I'm in the wrong company because my CEO doesn't let me do anything of this. I'm like, yeah, then life is too short, you should leave. But to have that blessing, that Scott didn't question anything I did, had no clue what I was doing. I was said, we're going to roll out IVF. He goes, all right, good. Doesn't know what IVF is. He doesn't know our benefits. So every time he talked to our product, like, well, you got to talk, you wanted to call it your benefit, you got to talk to Viv. So, but he was clear on what his role was. I was very clear on what my role was, and all the leaders knew exactly what they had to do. But the fact that I had that liberty and that gift that I can do whatever I wanted to do at Ultimate and give that back and do that for people who were so amazing and dedicated, brilliant people. Everyone we brought in was they added so much to the business.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, even if they weren't, and I had so many people who said, you know, Viv, I never ever thought about giving so much to charity or participating. Like, it feels good, but everything we create, even if we change mindset on either women or the gay community or on vets, like, and we were so vocal and transparent what our values were and what we believed in at new hire. And I told it very clearly at new hire, this is what we believe in. And I went through a 30-minute spiel on my communities of service. I said, if you don't support this, if you don't believe that, then this is not the place for you. And that's okay. But you should leave.
Yeah.
Because we need to bring people who are going to believe in this and who are going to make us stronger. Don't stay here if this is not what you believe for a paycheck and with the benefits. Don't do that, because you're not doing us any benefits. Then leave. But I made it very clear. And I think when that tone is from the top, from the very beginning, it makes an awareness. And the same thing, we went into so much of LGBT, and it's like, it's just, I cannot tell you the countless emails and hugs I've gotten from people. By the way, and this was before I knew my kids were gay, both of them. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me, because I had no clue. So I did all this stuff because the same thing, it goes back to the humanity of everyone everyone has something to contribute, and everyone deserves to be loved. It doesn't care what color, how you look, what your religion, or who do you love. Like, who fucking cares? Just, we're all people here on this earth,
Right.
and we're here. We don't know how long we're here. Life is very short, but don't hate. There's no hate at Ultimate. There was never any hate involved, and we just didn't tolerate anyone who there was injustice. And if I got a complaint about someone, by the way, in my 30 years now, I think of it, I never got anything. I got a lot of employee relations issues, but never one who an LGBT person came to me and said they got a comment that wasn't never once in 30 years. I got other stuff, like sexual harassment shit. So obviously men suck, but never about gender it wasn't about that. Everyone just felt welcome. And I think I always focus more on that underdog or that marginalized person. And I wanted to make sure I intentionally went after that and intentionally focused on those marginalized and said, we'll take you.
And that had to be the secret sauce, man. That had to be the secret sauce. Yeah.
And it showed every single day, single day that I showed up for work. You know, like I said, I'd never felt so loved, being able to be so open, and never felt like I needed to hide who I was, because it wasn't going to happen. Because by
And
that
a lot
time,
of people had families who they're going to go to, but I wanted to make sure they could come to us.
Yeah.
You're safe here, and you're loved here.
Yeah.
And you belong here. That's what but again, I think maybe it's me. I don't know. I think
has
just
to be
as
you.
humans should be. No,
Well, I mean,
I just don't, I can't comprehend how anyone's would not be like that. It's just hard for me.
When I say it has to be you, I think you could tap into the good in people. And I think that that's a uniquely skill set that you had in the group of individuals starting Ultimate. So I think you could pick up on who are the right people and give them a chance. And I think that's where the secret sauce is. And so for the listeners that don't know Ultimate Software, weren't fortunate enough to work for Ultimate Software, it may sound like this wonderful place to be, and it truly was. I can't think of a bad day I had there. Like, we all trusted each other, we felt empowered, we felt welcomed. So sitting where we are today, Ultimate Software is no longer. Can you tell us how you went from having this love and how fulfilling that was to then where you are now? Because it couldn't have been an easy ride.
Yeah, it was probably one of the hardest things I've been through, and I've been through two divorces. It almost broke me for several reasons. But I knew towards the end, after 30 years, I knew I didn't want to die at my desk. I know Scott wanted out. He was tired. I was tired. I also felt like I had nothing else to accomplish. I loved our people, but business-wise, I was like, I didn't feel it anymore. And I knew my daughter was trying to get pregnant. And I knew that I was just want to dedicate to my grandchild. And plus I was just tired. And I didn't have I didn't have a drive anymore. Like, you know, best place to work. Or it was like, it just didn't drive. It's been 30 years of me driving and driving and driving and driving. I loved it, but it's just, I felt very complacent at that point. And I know Scott was super tired. Anyway, long story short, H&F came to us the end of 2018, early 2019, really hard pressed. Wanted to buy us, and me and my naive mind, got in the early talking, and we started talking to H&F. And it's funny because I knew Higher Orientation was the first time I met H&F Group, and it was a group of like 10 guys, and I had no idea who they were. And I said, where are the women here? Why aren't there any women here? They're all guys. And then I find out, fuck, it was H&F. I don't give a fuck anyway. But, you know, when Scott started saying, oh yeah, you know, we're going to go private. And, you know, he had this whole talk. Scott, I know, was tired. You know, his logical next step was to make Adam CEO. So he was going to be co-CEO because Scott didn't want to take on anymore. I know he was physically, mentally, I mean, emotionally, all of us, we were nonstop. Our private lives was ultimate. And so they came to him and they said, we want to go private. And I said, oh, great. We're going to go private. I mean, the stock was soaring.
Yeah.
Stock was just, it was just insanity, especially someone where we went out at $10 and I saw the stock go at $2. So like, this is insane. How does this happen? This is crazy. So he said, no, we're going to go private. I'm thinking, oh, great. And then, you know, Adam will be CEO and we'll private. But in my mind, naive mind, I thought, well, we're public now. We're going to go private, meaning we're just not on NASDAQ anymore. I didn't comprehend that we were selling our company. So Scott, we're talking, we get talking to H&F. They brought a whole team together. What else? I knew already. I said, all right, when we go private, I'm done. I actually said, Scott, I'm done. Because Issa's now my daughter's pregnant. She gives birth in October. Like, I'm done. I had Kathleen. I said, we need to look for a chief people officer. So in March at Connections, I told H&F, like, I'm leaving. So Scott's plan was, I'm going to stay for a year and a half, and then I'll transition out. I said, perfect. You know, if you stay, you can do it. I'm out. And then when he said we're going private, I said, all right, we're having conversation. We're going private. And he goes, yeah, they're buying us for $11 billion. I said, well, what do you mean they're buying us? Because no, we're selling the company. I said, what do you mean we're selling the company? It was just a naive. I didn't know what he was talking about. I thought we were just not going to be on NASDAQ. And I just started bawling. I just started crying. I broke because I felt like, what do you mean you're selling our company? I'm like, again, it's a baby to him and I. He said, Viv, if you don't want to sell it, if you're not, just, I won't do it. But I knew that was the only way we could leave. So it took me about 2 weeks to compose myself, crying, and then the guilt, because you know nobody knows anything, and the guilt of telling him, doing new hire, oh, we're great, knowing what's going on. My heart was breaking. I'm like, we got to get this done. I can't do this anymore. So my team was the first one I told. Anyway, long story short, I was leaving at the end of the year, December 2019, and Scott says, you know, I told H&F, I'm not staying here either. I'm not doing it. He couldn't stay. I wasn't there, whatever. I said, fine, we'll both leave. Then Mark was leaving, but Mark already had a foot out the door. Mark was nowhere to be seen anyway. So we left, which was, the last new hire was so emotional. it was emotional departure, but I still felt, now I'm leaving, but I am still here. You know, I'm coming back and I'm seeing all my people and I'm still going to be involved. Pandemic happens. So now I leave, right? The pandemic is happening. So now no one's going to see anybody. On top of that, I break up with Scott in March of 2020 because I knew the bond that kept Scott and I together was Alti. You know, we had personal issues and I knew I wasn't being loved the way I wanted to be loved, but it's okay because I had Ultimate. And I had my people who loved me. So if I didn't feel loved by Scott, and he's a great man, I admire him, I respect him, I will always love him. But he wasn't capable of loving me the way I needed to be loved. But I found that at Ultimate, right? So it was my people. So now I left Ultimate. We're in the middle of pandemic. I'm not seeing people, hugging people. I've left Scott. I gotta leave Boca and find a house. There's nothing real estate because no one's showing their houses. And now my daughter and my 5-month-old granddaughter are living with me. So I got it. So it was, I reached a really low place in my life where I had this child that I had for 30 years And I felt I was the queen of the kingdom
Mm-hmm.
where everybody loved me and I felt the love. And it was, again, it goes back to the trauma of feeling loved to not being loved at all.
Yeah, it's a
Here
shock.
I am to that little girl crying again
Mm-hmm.
and not feeling loved again. And I was going a lot expressing my stuff to my daughter, and I thought that wasn't fair. And I've never cried so much every night. I cry myself to sleep every night by myself, just cry and cry. And then the things that went on through my head of Ultimate and the guilt that I felt then leaving Ultimate. Now, as soon as we left, they announced the merger. Like, what have we done? So it was that guilt that I know he's felt it, but I'll only speak for me. But I fucked everybody.
Mm.
You know, look what we did. Like, these people came to Ultimate that they were not going anywhere else other than Ultimate. They were going to retire. Like, look what we've done. You know, was it selfish of us to not want to do this anymore? It wasn't about the money, because we didn't need more money, but look what we did to these people. We've changed their, you know, their value, their lifestyles. Like, we've impacted their lives, and not in a good way. So here I am, someone who's a people pleaser.
Mm.
So the guilt of seeing what's slowly trickling and happening and not hearing good things, you know, never in my mind would I have thought that it would happen like it happened. Like, it was an adjustment, fine. But then I to this day, every time I hear of a layoff, it just, crying.
So what I can say, Viv, is that you can't take this on your own, you know, because the lessons that you taught all of us, literally, in the 15 years that I worked at Ultimate, and I will keep saying this, you taught us how to protect our house, how to protect us, how to protect our team, our friends, our family, and to this day, that still happens. They took every single word that you said to heart, and every single day, the people that came from Ultimate still preach that. Protect this house. And they're protecting each other, their teams, everything. And so you can't, I know you feel guilty,
Yeah,
but don't, because you taught all of us.
Still,
And
to
I can
this
tell
day,
you,
there's no blame, right? Like, I don't want you to think that anybody holds ill will, right? Like, there's
no,
not.
I know,
Yeah.
but it doesn't help me still feeling that.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, I need help. I need help. I need someone to talk to me to, you know, because the same thing, I felt so powerful because I was able to do so much for people. I just felt powerless.
Yeah.
I felt like, question, what's my purpose now? You know, I have a beautiful 5-month-old granddaughter, which I love, and God, I love that little girl who saved me. But what's my purpose? Is this it? I'm 57 years old, 58 years old, turned in January. Is this it? I went from, you know, being at the top of now I'm managing all these people and loving all these people. Like, I have nothing. I felt like I had nothing. And again, it goes back to me needing to be loved. I didn't have that. So I went to therapy for a year and a half, where it probably took a year and a half for me to stop feeling guilty about what happened to the peeps, of me dealing with Scott and I separation. It was a 18-year relationship, questioning why did I stay? Why, you know, was there a lot of anger, a lot of resentment? So I had to heal through that. And also a sense of responsibility. Now I have my daughter and now I have 2 grandkids and her wife now living with me. You know, it's that now I'm on my own again. And, you know, that's just that adjustment of it's life. So my therapist says, Viv, can we talk about everything that you've gone through and look how great you've done? But I kept telling her, like, yeah, but I feel like I should be doing something. And then on top of that, people finding out that I left Scott. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe you left Scott. And he's so great. He is great, but he wasn't great for me. He's a great guy. He's not great for me. At good times, but he just couldn't love me the way but it's hard because everyone had this image of Scott and Viv. So that was hard to do. And then I had a lot of pressure feeling from people like, well, Viv, what are you going to do now? Or what are you going to do now? I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I've done Alti for 30 years. But, you know, for anyone who's retired, fully retired, it's hard. especially what you've been in. It's not just me, it's happened to anybody who's been, you know, had their own company, or they did this, or this was their passion, and then it's gone. So it was so much adjustment where I just hit rock bottom, where it's a lot of crying, a lot of loneliness, a lot of, who am I? Because I know my identity is not Viv from Ultimate Software. I am also just Viv. So everyone but for 30 years, you're identified as Viv from Ultimate Software. So that's hard now, you know, Ultimate. So it's taken me a year and a half of my therapy with an amazing therapist. And I see key is, and it was hard because it was hard for me also to be very vulnerable and honest about what I was feeling, because she knew also my story about Ultimate Software. So it was hard to say, this is what I'm feeling. I feel like nothing. I feel like I have no purpose. I feel like, what do I do now? Is this my life? Like, I have nothing now. So she was great, and, you know, comfort me and reiterating, and also delving into a lot of learning a lot why I was that people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why was I such a people pleaser? Understanding now, and I understand why I was people pleaser, because I wanted to be loved, because I didn't have that growing up. I also too, I learned a lot about setting boundaries, because my son and I also had a fallout during the pandemic. Or again, we deal with anxiety different ways. And I also learned too that I didn't set boundaries with those closest to me because I was fear of losing them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I lost my mom. So it was, again, because I needed to be loved. Like, I'm not going to tell anything to my daughter or my son, or even Scott, that this bothered me, because they might not love me now. So if I say something, but that's so bad, because I think it just builds resentment. And many times with even especially my son, like, I get to a point that you just take me to the top, even with Scott, that I just blew up. I just blow. I just blow, because it's like, you fill a balloon, you fill a balloon, you fill a balloon. I just go. And I've learned so much through therapy that it's okay to have boundaries with those you love. And they're not going to stop loving you because you say, you know, what you said really hurt me. And now I've learned so much, and I feel so much better with myself of not to have that resentment, not to build. And with my son, I learned that a lot, because through the years, he hurt me a lot unintentionally. And I just didn't say anything. So then when I did blow up, it was like, you did this, and this is how I feel. It's like, well, why didn't I just say anything?
Yeah.
So it was just a year and a half of learning a lot about me, a year and a half of survival. Right. And here I am, someone who, right, I'm employee relations. I was advising everybody. And it's hard being at the top, because now you have no one to talk to. So that's why I think therapy is so critical for those. And there's no shame, especially at leadership people who don't go. You should definitely, everybody I think should go to therapy.
Agree.
Once in their life. But it was a lot of year and a half. I also didn't have that guilt with Ultimate. I feel my heart breaks every time I see changes or people losing their jobs. But I also know, and it took me a long time and a lot of peeps talking to me to say, Viv, but look what we had. Look what we experienced. Look at the friendships we have because of that experience. There's so many people that could never have experienced Ultimate ever in their life. So that has helped me heal, where I don't feel so guilty anymore. And it has been the peeps. I'm crying. Because they're so grateful for that experience. And for me too, who I have all the relationships that I have, and that I have 6,000 people that are still to me considered family, that not one has ever said, you know, you guys suck. You sold the company and look, now we all got screwed. Not, on the contrary. So that reassurance from them and that gratefulness from them has meant the world to me, because it has helped me heal in my guilt, feeling like, why did we do this? And I don't think I would have changed anything. I probably would have gone private equity, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I just think, again, it was just a part of my healing process. And now I'm good saying, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm enjoying the rest of my life.
Yeah.
For a long time, it wasn't like, and I'm like, fuck it. I don't have to be doing anything. I think I've done enough.
Yes.
I think I've done enough. I'm exhausted. I really want to live life, because I might not be here tomorrow. Amen. So that's where anybody who says, Viv, do you want to go? And like, yeah, like, but you don't know where we're going yet. I don't care. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Because I might, again, that comes to from my mom, who passed away at 37. And I tell my kids, and my kids like, Mom, you're nonstop now. Like, you're always doing something. You're always going somewhere. I say, yeah, because I love to do this now. And tomorrow's not guaranteed.
It's
I
true.
might not be here tomorrow. And I know Cecile, who's been my best friend now, says, do you want to go to Bali? I'm like, you know what, fuck it. If not now, when? Like, we're going to Bali. Like, I might not be here tomorrow. So we're going to Bali in February. We're going to Costa Rica in 3 weeks with nine of us who are girls,
Love that.
who 7 of us were from the Machu Picchu clan when we did 22 of
Yeah.
us. Who 7 of us during the pandemic, the local ones, there were 7 of us. I said, girls, I'm going crazy. I need to see people. Like, let's just do a getaway, the 7 of us. And then we added 2 more outside of Machu Picchu. So 9 of us have done a girls trip for 4 years now, every
Oh,
year.
that's nice.
So 3 weeks we're off to Costa Rica. Again, it's like those relationships and that gift that we all of us have gotten from Alti is priceless. We're never going to find that. It's not. And I think for everyone too is they keep chasing another Alti. It's hard. It's never going to be another
Never
Alti.
gonna be another one.
Never,
It'll
never.
be close, but never be another. But think
It's
of all we
never.
got because of Alti.
I know.
Yeah, that's the biggest gift I got from Alti for sure. It's all the people.
Yeah, this is something that I will take away from this, is that I think before I would probably bittersweetly think about it whenever we had a new hire that would say, oh, tell us about, and it was like an Ulti memory. But now, and I think, G-Rex, I think you said it when you and I were talking the other day, where like, we're so happy that we had the opportunity to work at Ultimate. And I'm like, thinking about it now, I'm like, that's probably my favorite part of my career so far.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's
Yeah.
not something I should think bittersweet on. Like that's almost something I'm proud of now from having
Yeah.
this conversation. It's just, yeah, we were lucky.
I
lucky
have to
few.
say, that when I was going through my mental breakdown and during my healing, when I reached out to you, you gave me nothing but patience and grace, and you lifted my heart, and really helped me to find that inner strength. And I really appreciated it. Like, how I said, Dirty Skittles was going to fangirl on you. Well, I'm going to fangirl for a few minutes because when I decided to take my early retirement, you were the first person I reached out to make sure that it was a good package. And part of my mental breakdown was that going into retirement, like I've been working for 45 years, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do now? And hindsight is 2020. Back in October, the podcast was never in my wheelhouse, and I'm so thankful that we have this now, because we get to share these stories with people every day, and we get to normalize how we talk about mental health, because to me that's super important. And the lessons that you taught me, and I hold very true to my heart, and especially my wife. She wanted to sit in on the conversation today, but she'll get to listen later on. She loves you so very much, and you will always be a big part of my family and my heart. And you were so excited when we told you we were going to Europe for 3 weeks. And
I was.
That was
makes me so happy. And a lot of those Ulti dreams that I feel like people got a chance to do. I got so many emails, everyone with the stock going up and the payout, and that people, Viv, I have my Ulti house and the Ulti, college paid for my kids, and I see now on Instagram and social media, and I see people taking these amazing, beautiful trips, and I'm like that's part of my healing process. That's part that I feel good about what we did versus bad about what it's become, which is still not bad. It's not, I'm not going to talk bad about UKG. They do what they got to do. It's just sometimes I don't agree how they do it, but there's still a lot of peeps there. And the same thing of the fact that we changed so many people's lives, and to see so many people being able to retire, like Alti did a lot of that. Like these people wouldn't have that stuff if it weren't for Alti. And the house, I went to someone like, this is the house Alti built. Look, my kids' lives are changed. Are you kidding me? My kids' lives are Alti kids. Isa was 5 months old, and she knows that if it weren't before Ultimate, they don't take it for granted one day, because they would not have the life they have, and my grandkids have their life. Like all of us had a piece of, Alti that changed our lives forever. But again, it's not the monetary things, it's just the friendships that we have, that no matter where we go, and to be able to do this. And I talk to Pete's every week. Every week I talk to people who just check up in on me, or I've had trips with them. We've had dinners. I actually have dinner next week with Kathleen Pye, who worked for me. And she's taken the Alti way. She's so grateful because Viv, she's taking it with her. And she's making that Alti way where she is. I mean, that's the biggest compliment, the gift I can have of that people has taken it. And it is not about the leadership. It's, you know, those peeps left at Alti, even whatever's happening at the top, they're still family. That Alti family is still there.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody does. That Alti family is still there. That culture amongst the peeps is still strong. That nothing's ever going to change that. Nothing will ever change that. In or out of Alti, that will always stay strong.
And even with all the layoffs, you know, just in our like Alti Peep for Life group, right? You can see all these people reaching out to help everybody else out, not just on Facebook, but on LinkedIn, and reaching out personally and checking in. And you know what? You taught us that. Protect the house. And it will, it's instilled in me for life, no matter where I go, no matter what I do. You know, I'm so forever grateful for you. You're an amazing friend.
Yeah, thank you, Viv.
Thank you. I love you.
We just love you so much. And
we do.
Just keep being you, man. Go out there and fucking like.
I don't know how to
be
be any other way. I don't know how to be any other way. I don't. If I tried it, I just don't know. I don't know how to be any other way. I just don't understand when people and organizations are like that. It's just. I did consulting for 9 months after Alti again, thinking, you know, I can still do this. Yeah, I can still do it. And then but then I thought, you know, I'm working for someone now, and this. I mean, the CEO was a great guy, but it's typical corporate America. It's like, you know, you really don't care about your people. You want a quick band-aid, and here we did this, and all right, that's it. They should be happy. Like, that doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Don't pay for their kids' insurance and then say, you know, now they're happy. Okay, we're good. No, you're not good, dude. It's work. It's every interaction you have with people every day. Every word you may say matters. Every action. It's just a lot of people don't get it, and that's. You know, unfortunately, it's sad. So I'm, you know, hoping that the peeps take it to other places they go and try to instill, if it's not the leadership amongst other people, and try to just make people fucking kinder, man. Just treat people with respect and care for one another. Stop the hate and just, you know, we don't know how long we're on this earth. And the biggest thing is when we leave, like, that you do make a difference for others. And I think I have. And yeah, now it's just keep enjoying ourselves and be there for each other. That's all that matters. And that Peep family doesn't matter. 6,000 still strong. Will always be strong. Doesn't matter where we go. They're still strong.
We will. Thank you.
We love you so much.
Yeah. I love you, girls.
We love you too.
Love you to all my peeps.
Can you? I love that. Say that again.
Wait, yeah, say it again without us interrupting you.
Love to all my peeps. Love you, love you, love you. Always protect the house. Love you all.
It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.